Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to the Patriots Den. This is the first show of the summer for us. This is like our summer edition is what we're calling it. The summer edition of the Patriots Den. I am your host, Patrick Prudhomme. I'm here with my amazing, phenomenal, wonderful co-host,
Brian Fuentes.
Brian, the people missed us for what seemed to be a week.
Yes, sir.
Maybe longer. I'm not really sure, depending on how you look at it. And a lot of people are asking, where have we been? Where did they go? It wasn't the banks. It wasn't the establishment, folks. As you all know, we're college students. Last week, final exams came through. Did you survive?
Actually, yeah. I did better than I thought I would, frankly.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I was talking to some people yesterday, and they were like, well, it looks like everyone passed. And I was like, are we surprised? And they were like, kind of, yes. Kind of, yes, we were surprised because...
You know, the academic comeback happened.
It did.
My GPA went up, and, felt good. I was looking at my little Blackboard report card yesterday. I was like, all right, let's see how I did. I was like, hey, let's go. I got A's in the classes I thought I was going to get A's in, and, I got B's in the ones I thought I was going to get B's in.
Yeah, I actually, there was one class that I was looking at, and I was like, this one, it's not looking too good for the home team. I'm going to be honest with you, it wasn't looking too good for the home team. And then we had to write an essay about government forms, and I chose Alexander the Great and dictatorship, and I made an A on it. And that it took the grade up by like 2 points. I was like, that's all I needed in life. I'm happy. I'm satisfied. I walked away.
Single essay, 2 points?
Yeah. But that's your final. That was our final. The paper was basically the final. It was a term paper. And so that single-handedly took us up where we needed to be. So we're grateful for that. And then Monday we celebrated my 20th birthday. Had some family over for that. So, folks, we've been busy. The Patriots Den has been busy. We've been moving. But now y'all have us for the summer, which means this is really all that's on our plate.
Exactly. First episode of the summer.
Of the summer. There it is. Episode 1. Put it in the little thing. I don't know what it is.
On the title. There you go.
Title, I don't know. Patriots Den Summer Edition. That's why I wore my what I don't even know what color this is. What color is this? This is like a white cream. Pearl?
I'd say pearl maybe.
Pearl, Chucks and Pearls. Shout out to Kamala Harris with her this is a Kamala Harris-esque kind of jacket.
Little white and pearl combo you got there.
Yeah. I pulled out the summer thing, Throw it up. They've never seen me. This is actually when I go on Facebook to find our shows and I'm looking for an episode, I go based on what I'm wearing. And that kind of helps me because I'm like, I wore this that day, this that day. That's how you gotta keep up. That's how you keep up. So to start the summer off, I wore something that when I look at it, I'm gonna go, that's summer. That's summer. I'm celebrating the summer. Boom.
I'd love to say the same, but I think about this and it's like, this is what I want to see when I go to Galveston.
Yeah. Oh. I'm the sand, you're the water. Oh, yep. That's beautiful.
And you're the actual water.
Yeah. They'll catch that one on the way home. This video is not sponsored by any water company as I take it. H2O. Hydration.
Maybe one day.
I don't regret my vote. But at the same time, I would say my frustration, honestly, because after we got off the phone yesterday, I, started thinking about it. I don't even want to say my frustration is with Trump. My frustration right now as a whole, and what we'll see throughout this show, my frustration is with the Republican Party.
Yeah. And I'm not, I'll cut you off right there. It's horrible, frankly. Mm-hmm. I mean, you saw the new administration, the new Trump administration. Mm-hmm. None of the loyalists were really kept back in the administration. Mm-hmm. Instead, we saw a bunch of the old school Republican Party get back in power.
Yeah.
You saw this especially with a lot of the pro-war guys as well. Mm-hmm. And I'm not going to lie to you. It really angered me. I'm not going to lie to you. Yeah. Because when I voted Trump, I voted ours on that ticket. I was like, this is for change. This is for a better America. Mm-hmm. And what do they do with that power? That, that opportunity, frankly, that we haven't had in almost 8 years now. Mm-hmm. They threw it away. Mm-hmm. We have control over all 3 branches of government. Objectively, I mean, Supreme Court, the
judicial, legislative, and executive.
There we go. Sorry, as you can probably guess, I have been awake for an hour. Say what you will about school, it kept me awake. Mm-hmm. it had me waking up early, and whenever it came to the show, boom, I've already been up for 2-3 hours at that point. Not today.
Not today. That's today.
I might try drinking coffee for once. We'll see how that goes next week.
Hey, I woke up this morning and I'm like, man, because normally we'd leave the school about what, 9 o'clock?
Yeah, I'd say so.
9 o'clock. Well, I woke up. My alarm went off at 7:30, and I looked at it and I went, we'll push it. So I didn't get out of the bed until like 8 o'clock, and I said, man. Normally, if I was at school, I'd still be asleep. Like, I didn't realize how big of a gap and how early in the morning this show was until today. When I was like, when I didn't have to be up, but I had to be up, you know what I'm saying? My sleep schedule is horrible. 5 o'clock in the morning. I didn't go to bed last night until like 3 a.m.
Oh, you too?
No. It's video games. It's video games. I'm not gonna lie. It's video games.
Yeah, no. I've got into this one game specifically. You heard of Minecraft?
Anyways, back to what we were saying. But yeah, my frustration is with the Republican Party. Like you said, we have all three branches of government, right? And the House is not doing their job. The Senate is not doing their job.
And I would say the executive isn't either at this point.
Exactly. We're gonna get to that because it trickles down. Not only am I upset about that, I'm upset with not the foundation, but the organization known as the Republican Party and the messaging that it's trying to push. It's not getting over anymore. The messaging is not there, and I'm going to bring up an article later on that some of the people that are our age but are Democrats and the strategies of which they're going to start implementing, and we're going to point out the differences in those strategies. I also want to talk about the Republican Party of Texas. We just had our May elections, and we look at what happened in the May elections, and we're going to get down to the nitty-gritty, and we're going to talk about what really happened. I know what one side says. I know what the other side says. I know what the middle says. We're going to get into what the Patriots Den has to say about that here in a quick second. But my first point for messaging is when we look at what Trump is doing with immigration, and he immigrated in all of these South Africans into the country. What was Trump's biggest campaign policy?
Stop immigration.
Stopping immigration. Stopping illegal immigration. That was his biggest point. Stopping illegal immigration and stopping the use of taxpayer dollars towards immigration and putting America first and put Americans first. Mm-hmm. Well, now, here we are. What's today? Thursday, May 15th of 2025. It's 10 o'clock in the morning, and that promise was broken. That promise was broken. He immigrated in these white South Africans on taxpayer dimes, and it took away from the messaging that he first promoted, which was, all the illegal immigrants are coming over here on taxpayer dollars. They're taking jobs. Bing, bam, boom, ba, bow. Right? All the great points. Then you turned around and you deported them only to replace them with white South Africans on that same taxpayer money. My question then goes to, okay, well, what about the other money that will say, how has America been put first since the deportation and then the importation of other people? Within that gap, how was Americans put first? What initiative has been taken by the Republican Party that is in power to put Americans first, Brian?
Frankly, there has been no initiative.
None.
The tariffs, they were a big thing. Oh, we're going to put America first by renegotiating all these trade deals. Mm-hmm. And then most of them ended up being nothing. They just got renegotiated, right, and they're gone. I mean, China, you look at it right now. Sure, my portfolio is doing better, but we dropped most of the tariffs on China, and now it's what's going to happen next. Right. We basically went through all these months of economic turbulence basically for nothing.
For nothing.
Yeah. And you said it yourself on the phone when you and I talked. We were discussing what has happened since Trump took office. All these price changes, things are going to get cheaper and lower.
It's not happening.
It's not. And when it does happen, it's at a very small and slow pace, mm-hmm, to where it's barely noticeable. Mm-hmm. I kid you not. I think gas was every now and then cheaper than it is now today, which makes no sense. Mm-hmm. We're supposed to be drilling more oil, getting more products into the U.S. at a cheaper price, but no. Yeah. Everything's the same price, or in some instances even more expensive due to mm-hmm inflation. And then you look at wages, they're not growing. AI is threatening a lot of different industries, and what do we have to show for it?
Nothing.
Absolutely nothing.
Nothing. And don't get me wrong, right? Like we said, prices are going down. We're seeing a small drop, right? We're not discrediting anything that has happened. The Trump administration has been great, right? Like I said earlier, I don't regret the vote. But at the same time, for us to have all three branches of government and we're seeing the small pace because of infighting, don't give me that.
It's 2016 all over again.
It's 2016 all over again. And there is no drastic change that we were promised, right? Yes, we can say, oh, well, the tariffs, our economy's doing great. When it comes down to the social aspect of things, we're putting ourselves in a very bad situation. And I'm disappointed because when Republicans come out and try to hold another Republican accountable, they're called rhinos, or you have no faith, you don't know what you're talking about, yada, 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 yada. No, what happened to holding each other accountable? What happened to accountability in the Republican Party?
Oh, it's simple. They don't hold each other accountable where it matters.
Yeah.
You saw this with Massey a few months ago. I mean, he was genuinely voting on principle on what the Republican Party should be upholding. Instead, what did they do to him? They try to get rid of him. What we should be doing to rhinos, people who just vote with either because of lobbyists or through personal agendas, they don't get touched. They don't get anywhere near the spotlight. But Massey, the one guy who actually votes on principle, the one guy who actually follows his constituents' will, he's the one who gets censured by the Republican Party.
Right.
And it's genuinely disgusting. I mean, I had a few doubts about the Republican Party. But as you said, I'm not going to vote Democrat over them because, imagine how worse it can be.
Right.
That being said, that's not an excuse for this kind of performance. Just because we voted for you out of not wanting something horrible happening doesn't mean you have the ability to just do nothing. Right. Your job isn't here to do nothing because doing something bad is the worst option. It's just to do something good. Right. Give a reason for people in the middle to vote for you. Give a reason for people who almost voted for you to have said, oh man, I wish I did vote for Trump because look at the way my life is improving.
Right.
Genuinely, has America had any big wins since Trump took office? I can think of one. I'll take that back.
Yeah, we can think of some. But when I talk to people on both sides, right, on both sides, three sides actually, left, right, middle, and I ask the simple question of, has anything in your life really changed? Like day to day, when you're walking around, have you seen a change? And the average person is like, no. So that means either one, we were happy under Biden, but we know that's not true because if we were, Trump wouldn't have gotten office. Or two, nothing's being done. And we can't just sit here and blame Trump, and we're not going, and that's not what I'm doing because he's, signing the executive orders, doing the best he can. My problem is when Trump signed the executive order for the Gulf of America, Republicans spent 3 weeks talking about a name change and got down to none of the social issues of America. There are still, as I sit here at this table, right, there are still illegal immigration is still high, right? The crossings are still happening. The border wall is not complete, right? We still have prices in some areas through the roof. We still have the ideological battle between men and women's sports and things of that nature. These are battles that we're still fighting.
Yep.
So yes, we changed the name of the Gulf of America to the Gulf of America. Congratulations. Okay, but what else do we have to show for it, right? And so it seems like it's a showman's show, right? Oh, look, we can change the name of the Gulf. I don't care. Be quite honest with you, I don't care. Let's see some actual change on the front. You have all three chambers, use them. In fact, you don't even need that. I just want to see the legislative branch do something. Can the House and the Senate do something? Can we see some? The last bill that I'm aware of that was celebrated highly was Marjorie Taylor Greene's Gulf of America bill.
I have no tax on tips. No tax on overtime.
Where is it? Where is it? We don't know. They can't find it. It was supposed to be in the
new budget bill.
The new budget bill. It wasn't there. And don't tell me you don't have the votes. Wait a minute. Republicans, y'all ran on the coattails of Donald Trump, and that was one of his campaign promises. Then when you got in there, you don't want to vote for the campaign promise that you made from the coattails that you rode? Stop it. And that is what I'm saying. That is my problem with the Republican Party at this moment, is that promises were made, but we're not seeing a lot of promises being kept. Joe Biden said it the best. For any president that's had a trifecta as a Republican, Donald Trump is leaning towards the worst 100 days. And it's not because of him, but it's because the people around him aren't doing their job.
And I would argue, just to be objective here, Trump has a little bit of blame here. I mean, objectively, he picked his administration, he picked his cabinet, and unfortunately, his cabinet has been one of the biggest issues here. I mean, you remember the Signal chat leaks?
Right.
That wasn't because of
multiple times.
Well, remember, those leaks didn't happen because of incompetence. That happened because they were targeted. People within his cabinet were infighting over what they wanted foreign policy to be. And Mr. Waltz, if I remember that, is that his name? Waltz? I think it was like something to do with the War Department or something. He leaked those to I think it was a pro-Palestinian leftist news organization. And that's how the Signal leaks happened. And you don't get that from incompetence. You get that because you wanted your coworkers to get fired.
Yeah.
And that's the issue here. We have infighting within the Republican Party. Yeah. And it's not helping the American people.
At all.
It's not helping the Republican Party. It's genuinely just individualistic, basically. It's disgusting. That's really all I have to say. Because we have all this power and we're doing nothing with it. The Democrats did all kinds of things when they got in power.
Right.
It's all we could talk about. Oh, they're changing this law. They're passing this new bill. They're going to get rid of the filibuster. They're going to pack the Supreme Court. Democrats don't feel the Republican Party doing that because we never get anything done.
Nothing. And it's sad, but you have people like Jasmine Crockett who, Democrat from Texas, running around saying the Republicans are the big bad guys. And then when asked, okay, well, what do they do? And even Jasmine Crockett was like, be honest with you, I don't know. I don't. Nobody knows what the Republican Party's motives are at this time. This is why, as it stands right now, I believe that the Republican Party is going to get absolutely dog-walked in the midterm. Because why would we vote for you if you've done nothing in these last 2 years? Done nothing. And if the Democrats can start correcting their messaging, which is going to help us go to this next point, watch this. The Democrats fired David Hogg, who only became famous because of the school shooting, right? Came in, is one of the, as far left as you can go over there with Chris Mowry and Harry Sisson and all them. They fired him. Why? Because Democrats now realize, wait a minute. The far left is not how we win. We got to go back in the country. This country's not as radical as we thought it was. And they're willing to go back there. You saw what Tim Walz said on the podcast. He said Kamala Harris picked me because they thought that I could relate to the average person, the average guy. The average white guy. I can sit there and talk about football and hunting and all this stuff. The Democrats now see the importance of their messaging. And the moment the Democrats can figure out the messaging is at a perfect time right now because it's the time Republicans are losing the messaging. Another thing I heard, they said Democrats, Gen Z Democrats, take back the flag. What did Kamala Harris's campaign do? I thought it was great as a campaign strategy. They had the camo hats. They had the American flags. They had all at the rallies. They're trying to push an image that is not true, right? We all know what the Democrat Party really stands for.
Yeah.
But until the Republicans can point out saying, hey, they're lying, and then we have something to show for it. Right now, we have nothing to show for it.
Well, here's the thing. The Democrat and Republican parties are both pursuing the same strategy, basically, but they approach it different ways. Big Tent. Democrats approached it going towards the middle of the country. They're like, here, we're more pro-America. We're not as crazy as we used to be. Come vote for us. Republicans, well, in theory, they already had the middle vote. They were always the more sensible / less radical party. But what did Trump do in 2024? The exact opposite. Instead of going after a bigger majority, trying to win over a smaller percentage of like the majority, like the Hispanic vote, the white vote, the black vote, he instead went for all these separate minority groups. We had transgenders speaking at the Republican conference. We had all these different other very small minority groups come in and offend a bunch of the majority groups. And, this is a very diverse country. I'm not to say that these people have no place in our political system. But I don't think it's the Republican Party's place to basically do what the Democrats are doing, which is pandering to these minority groups for a few extra votes. And that's the issue here. I mean, the Democrats are approaching the Big Tent strategy in the right way, which is you want a big tent that fills in a lot of big groups. Because if you have all these different diverse opinions and mindsets, what do you have? Infighting, and nothing gets done.
Right.
Because you have all these different opinions on how things should be done, and now you get nothing done.
Yeah. So I want to speak on the transgenders for Trump for a moment. Republicans, this election, we increased in every single area when it comes to voting blocks. We've never had this many African Americans vote for Republican, whites, Hispanic, all the way down the line, except one group. What is that? The gays.
Oh, okay.
The gays. The gays is the group that, for some reason, was pandered to the absolute most, and yet they're the ones who actually voted more left. They have not transitioned, no pun intended, no pun intended, to the right at all. There has been no shift in people that identify as LGBTQ going Republican. It has not happened, yet they're pandered to the most. You had the gays for Trump, you had the transgender speaking at the Trump rallies, we had all this stuff. And at the same time, the party platform goes literally against that. It goes against it. And
in theory,
it goes against it. I've always said you can't be conservative and gay. I don't think it. I
agree.
I don't think it works, because what are you conserving? But at the same time,
you're conserving the GDP, Patrick.
Something. You're conserving something. I really don't know. Granted, gay male couples, when it comes to the income wise, they make a lot of money. But it's because it's two men in a household. I'd hope you made a lot of money. Do something. But again, the Republicans were losing the messaging. What won Trump this election? Gen Z. Gen Z won Trump this election. And when I say Gen Z males won Trump this election. If we're going to get down to it. He won that college vote. He needed the college vote. He won the college vote. Now the question goes to, okay, well, Democrats, how do you get that vote back? Because that used to be the Democrats' vote at one point. You know, the younger you were, you voted liberal. I read something that said if you're young and vote Republican, you have no heart. If you're old and vote Democrat, you have no common sense. That was, and so
I think it's Winston Churchill, but you got the quote a little bit off.
Something like that.
It's liberal, conservative, not Democrat, Republican, and it's
no.
It's heart. It's heart and brain, not.
It wasn't. It was a TikTok. I got it off of TikTok. So they was probably quoting Winston Churchill, and they did it wrong. I was quoting the TikTok. I don't know whose TikTok it was, but I was quoting the TikTok.
What's TikTok?
I don't know.
Real.
I don't know.
The state of American discourse right here.
but no. And so then they released an article. And I want to pull this article up here, and I'm going to read you the title of the article if I can find it. Hold on. Oh Lord, what's that man's name? Harry Sisson. Y'all know Harry Sisson? Yeah. And the title of the article is "The Politics of Getting Laid and Preachy Females." It's not about getting laid, it's about getting ahead. And the picture is two white teenage boys with their, Trump hats on or whatever. And it basically explains why the Republican Party was able to win the Gen Z male vote. Right? They went after the radical issues of the Democrat Party. They, went after, modern, what the modern man should be. Getting ahead in life, being able to supply for their family, being able to take care. Because every time you looked at the Democrats, it was it was Joe Biden. It was Kamala Harris. Like, it was people that can't resonate with Gen Z. So you know what the solution was? This is a quote from the article, folks. Send Secretary Pete Buttigieg to Flagrant to talk about parenting. Put Governor Westmore on fitness podcast to share his workout routine and lessons from military service. Have Governor J.B. Pritzker break down generational wealth on business shows. Let Senator Ruben Gallego speak at a rodeo about culture, masculinity, and pride of a place. Show young men that the Democrat Party isn't just full of people who talk about their values, but leaders who live them. Leaders who've built the kind of lives these voters want and who are fighting to make those lives possible for everyone. Republicans have successfully courted young male voters by making the conditions for success impossible. and then giving them someone else to blame. They've created a trap. Either admit you're failing to become the man you were told to be, or believe it's someone else's fault. If you're a young man who went to college, works full-time, hustles every day, and still can't get ahead, whether you're doing back-breaking labor in the oil field, working sun up to sundown as a construction worker, or getting yelled at in a call center, are you really going to believe you're the problem? Blaming others may not be the right choice, but it's the easy one. And it's why so many young men are making. That's why immigration ranks so high among their political concerns. So basically they were saying that the Republican Party, allows for people to have, an excuse.
A scapegoat.
A scapegoat. Right. I'd have to disagree. I would say maybe it's because look at what your idea was. Mind you, this is how they're going to target the average modern Gen Z male. Me, him, this is ages about 18 to 25. Maybe 30 if you want to push it. What was the number one thing? Send Secretary Pete Buttigieg to Flagrant to talk about parenting. For those of you who don't know, Pete Buttigieg is gay. How is a gay man on a podcast talking about parenting going to reach and resonate with Gen Z male voters that are leaning very conservative?
So, there's a fun thing called being in the closet. And what's the rate at? 10% now?
I don't have that. I don't have that statistic.
Who knows? Maybe that's what they mean by that. Like, we'll appeal to the gay vote.
You have the gay vote.
Apparently, you can get more of it.
What more can you get?
Gays for Trump. They want to get those people, that money. Gays for Biden.
Like, because I mean,
there we go.
It says about parenting. Pete Buttigieg, he doesn't have a child of his own.
Yeah, exactly.
He adopted a child and took what's it called? Parental leave or whatever. Not parental leave. What's the thing that they give? Paternal leave. That he took paternal leave. What? Makes no sense.
Okay. Oh, have you seen the pictures too? It was genuinely one of the most disgusting things I've ever seen.
I've not. So
because no, I'll stop you there because this is. Mm-hmm. If I had to see this, you have to think about it as well. They tried to mimic breastfeeding. Like they took pictures of them doing that as well.
Pete Buttigieg?
Yes, and his husband.
Oh. Well,
not child abuse, guys.
Not child abuse at all. So actually, you know what? Olivia Julania, that's who wrote the article. I agree. Send Pete Buttigieg on a podcast and let him talk about parenting. Send him to a podcast that conservatives listen to. Put him on Andrew Tate's podcast.
Is Joe Rogan still a thing?
Put him on Joe Rogan. Put him.
I haven't heard much about Joe Rogan. Is he
He's
still?
still a thing. He's still a thing. It's not election season, so.
Oh.
But put him on the PBD podcast, the Patrick Bet David podcast, and I want them to ask, bring him here. We got a seat for him here. He's got a hate here. He leave crying.
We just have to clean the seat.
Right, you have to clean the seat when he gets done, but bring him on here. Then it says, put Governor Wes Moore on fitness podcast to share his workout routine and lessons from military service. I don't see how that gets you the vote.
I guess they're trying to emulate RFK Jr.
Maybe. So who's the Pete Buttigieg emulating about parenting?
He's not emulating anyways. They're kind of just because the thing is, Republicans by their nature already have that whole issue secure.
Yeah.
Until Republicans decide, we want more gay vote, and then they get rid of that whole thing. But in theory, we don't need to have someone speak about it because that's a core issue in mm-hmm. our policies. But with the Democrats, they're pro baby killing, they're pro destroying the nuclear family. Of course, they're going to be like, oh, yeah, no, we have to specifically say we're pro-family. Or else, the average person wouldn't assume so.
This is the one that caught me. This was the funny one because everyone knows I love a good rodeo. Love a good rodeo. Let Ruben Gallego speak at a rodeo about culture, masculinity, and pride of place. Folks, for anyone that doesn't know what a rodeo is, there's not much talking happening at the rodeo. When I go to a rodeo, I don't really... Trump himself could be at the rodeo. I really don't want to hear him speak. I'm there to see some action. I'm there to see a man out of his rabbit mind climb on top of a bull and hold on tight and try to go for 8 seconds. That's all I need is in a good 8-second ride. I want to see a woman put everything she has on that horse and hit them turns on that barrel, and I want to see a good barrel racing from a woman. That's what I'm there to see. I want to see a man get on a horse, no saddle, bareback bronc busting. That's what I'm there to see. I'm not there to listen to Ruben Gallego talk to me about the culture of the Democrat Party.
Well, you don't understand. You're not the target demographic, Pat.
I literally am. That's the thing. I literally am. Listen to this. Take abortion, for example. This is how they're going to...
This is going to be great.
This is going to be great. When Democrats talk to young men about abortion, it's usually framed around protecting the women in their lives, emphasizing their role as caretakers, defenders, or allies. But what's almost never acknowledged is the economic and life-altering impact that an unplanned pregnancy can have on young men themselves. If a young couple becomes pregnant unexpectedly, the woman may not be ready. Maybe she's in college working towards a future she isn't ready to interrupt. But the same applies to young men. One moment you're a college kid hooking up with your girlfriend or a one-night stand after bar hopping, and the next you're facing the reality of becoming a father. I got news for them. Teen pregnancy is not as popular as people think it is. And the idea of abortion, it's not as popular of a voting issue as the Democrats want it to be.
Well, with that, I would want to agree, but I do want to remind you, we do live in the Bible Belt.
It's true. But that's what the context of this argument is. SEC college kids, Southland Conference college kids, the reason they lost.
No, I would disagree. The South has always been pretty strong. I mean,
well, correct. But I want to also. This is by Olivia Giuliani and Harry Sisson.
Fair enough.
Their tour was aimed at Texas A&M, the University of Texas, the University of Alabama.
Yeah.
They're trying to, this is Olivia Giuliani is in Texas. She's trying to flip those states. They're trying to take Georgia, right? They're trying to take Texas. They're trying to take Arizona. They're trying to take those states that typically are going to lean conservative anyway. Because this works in California, right? This works in New York. They could care less. They want to come for the Virginia. They're going to Virginia for it, right? Because they know that this flies where they're from.
Yeah.
This is to enter the foreign territory and can change minds. Let's go to the conservatives and be like, hey, it's no longer it's about your pocket. Everyone knows that most people are going to vote with their wallet.
Yep.
Except for this. This is an unborn child's life. Most people, like you said, this is the Bible Belt. That doesn't fly. So across race and age, the top 3 issues for young men were inflation and the cost of living, immigration and the border, and jobs in the economy. These are all mostly Republican. The Republicans hold this.
Yeah. In theory, I mean, if I was a Democrat planner and I was trying to win back the young male vote, I would target the jobs, frankly.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a very big proponent of, capitalism. I do think it's a great system. It has lifted billions out of poverty. But there are faults in the system.
Absolutely.
And the fact is the Democrat Party could get benefit a lot from targeting those faults. I mean, look at the average job a teenager gets nowadays. They barely make any money off of it. It barely covers the gas to drive to and from work and school. But you're still working all these long hours. You're still wasting all of your time and basically your youth working these dead-end jobs. Then they benefit you in no way. I mean, you put on your job resume or your resume, worked at McDonald's for 2 years part-time. Is that really going to be worth much beyond just saying I worked a job? No, because there's nothing to be learned at McDonald's beyond, unless you become a manager, really there's nothing to be learned. I mean, you worked at a cashier where all you have to do is press a few buttons. It's, a lot more automated now than it used to be.
Yeah.
Democrats could genuinely benefit from arguing for better, working conditions for all these people. Another big thing is, more regulation as well. Like I said, I'm a very objective guy. I'll call out dumb policies whenever I see them. For example, the FDA rolled back a lot of clean water regulations recently. Have you heard about that, by the way?
And they had a hearing for it.
Yeah, no. They were going to, under the Biden administration, they wanted to get rid of the forever chemicals in the waters, which are directly tied to cancer and a lot of harm to the people. Yet quietly, the EPA under Trump's administration said, never mind, we're not going to do that anymore. And that's kind of thing. It's like food, water regulations to make people healthier. RFK Jr., I'll give him to his credit. He is fighting the fight to make that happen.
He's a lone wolf in that fight.
And that's the issue. He is a lone wolf, but he was a Democrat for a reason. Because he argued for more regulation. And that's kind of a big issue with the Republican Party today. A lot of Republicans are just, at worst, I want to see the GDP go up because that's all I care about. Or at best, the economy matters to me, but I don't really understand how it works.
Right.
And they just say the number go up and they assume that's good for them when it really doesn't matter. I mean, I know this is a little bit sidetracked, but I mean, GDP is really a horrible figure for measuring economic growth. A little joke or parable that kind of goes to the point is 2 men are walking down the road and one of them sees some manure on the road and he's like, hey, I'll give you $50 if you eat it. And it's like, yeah, sure, I'll do that. He does it, gets the $50. And then they keep walking down the road and then they see some more manure. And the guy's like, hey, I'll give you $50 if you eat it. So what happened?
He just got his money back.
Exactly. But
they both had to eat
manure. But guess what, though? GDP went up $100 because $100 worth of transactions happened.
Yeah.
But no one's richer at the end of that story. If anything, everyone's worse off.
Yeah.
And that's kind of my thing. Because I'm a finance major, I do like to view economics and understand how money works. And that's kind of my biggest issue with the Republican Party. We prioritize GDP growth above all else. Sometimes when it comes to the economy, we say our GDP grew by X percent this year. And we never talk about job statistics like, oh, but wages grew this much compared to inflation. Or, the average person is able to afford a home now. It's nothing like that.
Yeah, and it's fun because I love talking to people about the GDP. And I go, America has this great large GDP, but Texas has a greater GDP than some of the countries walking around here, right?
Bigger than Russia, actually.
So it doesn't, that's not a measurement. Both sides can't get the messaging right on that, though. But what I'm seeing here is these are the next leaders of the Democrat Party, whether you want to agree with me or not. It's the facts. Harry Sisson, Olivia Julie, they're making big ground in the Democrat Party. These are the next leaders. And they're already focused on that messaging. I want, right here it says, I would strongly encourage those in the party making assumptions about how young men think or operate to visit a frat house, an oil rig, or a comida, and actually talk to the young men who make up America. I have, and that's why, despite being a so-called preachy woman myself, I'm able to connect with them beyond asking for their vote. She's not connecting with anyone when you see her. But that's what it is. That's what it's for. They're trying to, target the soon-to-be middle-class blue-collar worker in America. That's what they're looking for. A party that's typically conservative. We talked. I believe it was. It was on this show where we talked about. Yeah, it was. And how women say they want a conservative-looking man with liberal ideology. Well, here it is coming into full fruition. They're making whole articles about it on how to do it, right? So once again, the lifestyle of a conservative is right. We know that for a fact. Both sides agree that the conservative lifestyle is the way to go. The actions, though, and the policies are the parts that we're fighting on. If Republicans can literally, all they got to do is say, well, if the conservative-looking guy is so great, and everyone wants the conservative look, then tell me, what's wrong with the conservative policy? Because the conservative policy is what makes the conservative look. But they don't know how to make that. People are getting paid thousands and millions of dollars to come up with these arguments, and they can't do it. It makes no sense. Then we move on to, okay, well, it has to start from somewhere. Starts right here with the local. We had a red county in Texas go 0 for 11 with Republicans on the ballot. 0 for 11. Anyone know why? I'm going to give my synopsis, but Brian, go ahead.
I want you to go first.
A lot of people are going to be, what is he talking about? They're not going to be too happy with this one, Brian. They're not going to be too happy. The problem is in politics right now, is we have a lot of people who have misunderstood what grassroots means. They've forgotten the vision. They've lost the vision. They've lost sight. I want to just look up the definition of grassroots. It's the most basic level of an activity or organization. Okay? The common or ordinary people. Okay? Especially as contrasted with the leadership or elite of a political party, social organization, etc., the rank and file. The term grassroots refers to a movement that uses the people in a given district, region, or community as the basis for a political or continent movement. Grassroots movements and organizations use collective action from volunteers at the local level to implement change at the local, regional, national, or international levels. Grassroots campaigns don't run people. If you're a grassroots organization, you don't run people. Why would you say something like that? Well, we need a grassroots candidate. No, you don't. No, you don't. You know your grassroots is effective is when the elites have to pause because the grassroots make up majority of the electorate. So until the movement itself is firmed and on a foundation that is unmovable and unshakable, no matter who is going against them, the grassroots will never be able to succeed. Too many times now, we have people that want to create the grassroots, but they don't have the components of what it takes to create a grassroots, because instead of making it a grassroots, they're running the grassroots as if it's an elite thing. They're doing elite moves without elite money, instead of going back to the basics of block walking, door knocking. Hey, we're not running a candidate, but we want to just bring an issue to mind. Did you know that our school district is blank, blank, blank? Did you know that our city is number 73 out of 100? And that's all they're doing. They're bringing noise to the movement. They're not running a candidate. They're not trying to mass fund anybody. They're just going door to door saying, hey, this is a movement of people. And we're implementing change. Martin Luther King never ran for office. He created a movement. He created noise. He created an electorate. And that electorate is what implemented that change. Not electing someone in to do what you want them to do. That is what the elites do. So the reason we watched as Republicans in Texas went 0-11 in red places is because the Republican Party took on two enemies, the Democrats and the Republicans. And because of that, the people now suffer because everyone wanted to be a kingmaker in Texas. It happened in Harris County. It happened in Brazoria County. It happened all over Texas. In these May elections, Republicans got swept because everyone wanted to be a kingmaker. That's what happened. You had people trying to do jobs that you're not called to do. I believe that everyone has a calling. When you agree, everyone has a calling, and you have to stick with that calling, because the moment you veer off track, you get popped and you get put back in your place. What does that mean? That means we can't go off and grab random people off the street and say, hey, I think you're going to do a great job with this. Then they lose and we go, what happened? How did we lose? I can't believe it. I can. We saw it happen on the federal level. Kamala Harris was randomly dragged in and was like, hey, you're going to run for president. Kamala said, what? Okay. Freedom, freedom, I can't lose. Great song for the campaign, but that's about all she had going for her because she wasn't a good candidate. Candidate quality matters. The Republican Party seems to forget that. Candidate quality matters. This isn't the first time we've lost because of candidate quality. The last time we lost for candidate quality was when? 2022, when we decided to run people like Dr. Oz for Pennsylvania Senate. He didn't even live in Pennsylvania. He lived in New Jersey. got whopped. Love Carrie Lake, worked on the campaign, but in 2022 when she ran for governor, candidate quality was not that. Her Senate campaign, though, that was a great campaign. Loved the Senate campaign. Governor campaign, horrible candidate quality. We have to go back to realizing candidate quality matters. It is not the grassroots job to find the candidate quality. That's not our job. The grassroots job is to create a movement that inspires someone out of their own fruition to go and run.
Yeah, that's grassroots for you.
Not to go handpick somebody, your neighbor. Hey, I think you should run for this office. No. Because we got a lot of play pretend campaign managers running around here. People that just think that they know what's going on, and you don't know anything. Never worked on a campaign a day in their life, and all of a sudden, they're trying to run for the highest position that they can. For the title? Stop it. And then they hide behind the grassroots to do it. And the grassroots, because, we just need a candidate, takes them in. It's like a wolf in sheep's clothing. That's why we lost so bad. It's because we were putting people up that weren't qualified, people that just wanted a position. You look at what's happening in DeSoto right now. In DeSoto, that's a campaign. There's a black man running for city council in DeSoto. If he wins, he'll be the first Republican on the DeSoto city council in like 30 years. Do you know why? It's because he has candidate quality. His campaign is not run by some weird operation. No. He gets in the mud, he's talking at the events, and he's willing to go toe-to-toe with whoever wants to debate, whoever it is. He's running as a Republican, but he's not afraid to stand up against Republicans. He's not afraid to stand up against Democrats in an area where that's what you have to do. I was watching him, he called them demon rats. He was like, I'm up against the demons, right? And when Satan sends demons, God sends angels, and I need angels in my campaign. Not play pretend people that just want a campaign title. Because the moment you do that is the moment you lose. And then you have some people who just want to waste everybody's time, and they come out saying, I'm running for office. You're wasting us time. Stop it. Go sit down. You shouldn't run for nothing. You can vote, you can be on the grassroots, you can door knock, but you yourself should not be a candidate. And those people it was like this. It was like this. I tell you, it was like that. Just like bam. Right there. See, don't do it again. Sit down. You're done. You done ran for the same office 3 times, and you get less votes every single time. Stop wasting our time, please. We're begging you.
Man, I get it. We make fun of Beto, but geez, man.
Sorry, folks. I'm mad. Because what? And the Democrats are having Democrats are dancing. They're partying. They're having a good time because they won in Texas. Democrats don't win in Texas. That doesn't happen. Why did it happen? Because we had a bunch of people running around in their ballerina shoes, tiptoeing around the actual problems facing the modern day American. The only thing we had going for us was we have a Republican in the White House, folks. We gotta win now. You're not Trump. Stop it. Ted Cruz can do it. You're not Ted Cruz. Greg Abbott can do it. You're not Greg Abbott. They have it easy. That doesn't mean you have it easy. When you come down to these city level elections, the local, getting in the mud, where everybody knows everybody, if you have any speck of dirt on your hand, you're not winning. And if you have any speck of dirt on your hand, you better have some good soap to clean it, aka money. And if you don't have the money to do it, then you need a grassroots movement, not a grassroots campaign manager, not a grassroots funding. You need a grassroots movement.
Yep. You need the volunteers to back it up, because that's the thing. You can have all the money in the world, but if you have no one working at your campaign, it's not worth anything.
It's not worth anything.
Like, why be a campaign manager if you're not managing anyone?
Yeah. What are you managing? There's no campaign. And if there is a campaign, stop it. You did it in your garage. You didn't do anything. Right? And so what the Democrats did in this election cycle is the Democrats didn't even have to run on policy or platform. All the Democrat had to do was run. That's all the Democrat had to do was run and say, well, you whooped us a lot in 2024. You beat us down. But look at you right now. You're infighting within yourselves. You can't get your movements right. You can't get your policies right. The two of you are running against each other. You're saying the exact same thing. The people are confused. Folks, vote me. I'm the only one on the ballot that is saying something different than the other side. And if you truly want change and you don't want to vote for the incumbent, why vote for the person running against them? They're saying the same thing. Vote for me. I'm going to go independent on this election. Then they got elected, especially in nonpartisan elections. Oh, that's so easy. I don't have a D next to my name. This is why I tell people I'd make a great Democrat. Republicans would never beat me, ever. It just wouldn't happen because I would say, look at them. They're so evil.
I'm here in the middle, common sense.
Right, me. I'm the middle.
Bipartisan, willing to work with the other side.
I want to work with everybody. I love everybody. I love everybody.
You can see it now, the suburban mothers taking their kids to soccer with a little
Yeah.
Patrick Prudhomme for Senate sticker.
I'm going to be at the soccer games handing out water. Go,
little fruit snacks, too,
Go,
man.
little Johnny. Go, little Johnny. This Little League
They make
soccer
an
team
amazing
is-
campaign commercial right there.
God. Oh, what? I'd kill the game. I'd never lose. The only problem is I have morals and values, so I can't do it. You know, I can't. But all I'm saying is if I was, I'd be a pretty good one. I'm not gonna sit here and say I wouldn't, because it's easy. You just have to be if you're a good con artist who doesn't actually believe in anything you're actually saying, you're a Democrat. You'd be a great Democrat. Half the people that I see, and I'm looking at them like, you don't even believe what you're saying. All I gotta do is
It pays the bills.
It pays the bills. It pays the bills. You're an entertainer for real. I mean, I could do it. The Republican Party, we actually have morals and values. You gotta actually have some substance in your words. My bad. And then this is what really gets me. Is when the election is over. People that you didn't even know existed come out the blue. How did we lose? Oh, where were you at? During the election cycle, when we needed volunteers, somebody to door knock, somebody to make phone calls, you stayed silent the entire time. The moment you lost is the moment you want to come out and start blaming people. No, take blame for yourself. We asked you for help. We knew this wasn't going to be easy. You did nothing. But I pray for y'all and give us your one vote. Your one vote does nothing. Your one vote does nothing, but your voice does something. There's two V's in politics, voice and vote. Which one's more powerful? People want to say your vote. No, it's your voice. Because your voice is your vote.
Yep.
In my household, my one voice was able to secure over 3 votes for the Republican Party. If I never said anything and I just go vote, that's just 1 vote. But no, I was able to triple it. You get out there, tell your friends, your family, and get on the phone, call, door knock, do this, do that, do this, do that. Sure. There were a lot of people out here that had campaigns that were breaking their backs, breaking their necks, trying to push their messaging because they were the only ones doing it. They're by themselves. They didn't have anyone else to do it for them.
And the issue is, even with small elections, you still need help. You can't just run a one-man campaign.
It's not possible.
I had a friend of mine up north. He was like 18 years old when he ran for his campaign. Mm-hmm. It was as grassroots as you can get. Like, he couldn't even afford a mailer because of how little money he had to run the campaign. But he worked his butt off. He had volunteers, too. That's the main thing. He had volunteers helping him. Mm-hmm. A lot of his friends were helping him. He was getting his name out there. And he didn't think he was going to win. Mm-hmm. He was like, yeah, no, I mean, the other Republican has money. He has funding from the state, state actors, basically. The Democrat is, being a Democrat, he thought he was going to not win the race. But lo and behold, through the hard work of himself and all the volunteers and an actual grassroots campaign, he ended up winning the election. Yeah. And he is currently the youngest, U.S. representative in his state.
Congratulations to him. Wow. Yeah. This past the May election, Texas wasn't the only person that had May elections. The state of Ohio had a May election. And a fella from Ohio reached out to me to be his campaign manager. And this is one of the things. We have a lot of people out here that want the title of campaign manager, but have no clue what they're doing. As someone who has been a campaign manager who has a successful win rate, it's not easy. It's not everyone can do it. And if you pick the wrong person, your whole campaign goes down the gutter. Because when a lot of people, like when I look at a campaign, who's the campaign manager? Who's running it? And you can immediately tell. Not only was I the campaign, whenever anything digital, all that was all me. I did all that. And this campaign didn't have much money. In fact, the campaign wasn't even on the ballot. It was a write-in campaign. which means not only was I running a campaign from Texas that was happening in Ohio, but I was in charge of making sure people get to the ballot and writing out the name. We won the election with 67.55% of the vote.
Congratulations, man.
In fact, the mayor of the city, because the city is partisan, it's a partisan thing. The mayor of the city, the person who I was, his name is AJ Roll, he was running. The mayor it was like a duo campaign kind of thing. Whenever he would go door knocking, he was door knocking for himself and the mayor. But the mayor had his own campaign and his own campaign manager. AJ had me as his campaign manager, and we had our own thing going. The mayor lost. AJ did.
Writing candidate won, yet the one who was on the ballot lost. Ain't that something?
And AJ will be a city councilman for the at-large. It's at large. It's not like district. No, it's three people body, and the entire city votes for the 3 people. It's not like your district 6. Sure, no, this is at large.
Yep.
We were able to win that. We didn't need any fancy funding and all that. No, I didn't need fancy titles. It's just I knew what I was doing, and I had a candidate that had the quality to win. AJ reached out to me. I said, absolutely, I'll do it. Me and AJ have been great friends, right? And we ran that campaign and we won. We won. And everyone was like, there's no way he's going to win. The tables were against us. Let's get that out the way.
Yeah.
Because the guy that we're running against, his name is printed on the ballot. In fact, his name is the only name printed in that. It's not like it was a 3-man. It was a 2-man race between the guy that's printed on the ballot and then write-in. The write-in candidate beat the guy whose name was printed on the ballot.
Dude, I would pay some good money to be in that campaign manager's office whenever the results came in. Like, what do you mean we lost? We were the only name on the ballot.
Yeah.
Like, imagine that.
Phone blowing up. Ding, 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 ding. I'm answering. I'm looking at these numbers. And it looked bad in the beginning. Early voting turnout was horrible for us. But I made sure, but that's because I made sure that our campaign pushed the on election day voting. Many people thought that was crazy of me to do. Why would you do that? When you look at the numbers, if you can just get 50%, right? 50% to go out and vote, you win the election. And all 50% don't even have to vote for you. But if 50% can just remember that it's election day, they're going to write you in. Because if they're remembering to go vote for such a small election like this, that means you made a difference. I wrote all the speeches and everything. I wrote the speeches. I did all that. The problem that we had in Texas is a lot of these people, they didn't have any campaign managers. They didn't have people in their ear saying, this is what you got to do. This is how you got to do it. And, you called your best friend, hey, you want to be my campaign manager? Didn't know what they were doing. Granted, there was a man who sat right here in this chair. He sat right here in this chair. And he was his wife's campaign manager. Granted, it was a 3-way race. She didn't win. She did not win. But the number he said that they needed to get was the exact number they needed to get. And they fell just below it. Because voter turnout was not as high as they thought it was. It wasn't as high. It was a three-way race. 2 Republicans, 1 Democrat. That Democrat got the least amount of votes in the election. That's how you run an election. Is when 2 Republicans running against each other can treat that like a primary and the Democrat is obsolete. That's how you run an election. Props to that guy. Granted, you're running against an incumbent of what? It was like 34 years.
Yeah.
So that person did win, but they didn't win by a lot. In fact, that's what sparks the movement. And now you go to him and say, hey, you do know if I run again, I probably win. Like, that's how close. Yeah. I can beat you.
Because you go from a nobody to a somebody.
Exactly. Now this is where the movement starts. Now you go, hey, we got the attention. Keep at it. Unfortunately, a lot of these elections, they got the attention. They didn't even get the attention. They just got blown out the water. I mean, I was like, oh my God, you did what? You didn't even get 10% of the vote. Stop it. You voted for yourself and that was it. Nobody, your campaign manager didn't even vote for you. That's embarrassing. Like, come on, stop it. But a good campaign is only as good as the team around it. And if the team around it is, and that's what a lot of people, being a campaign and working on this campaigns, Brian, you know it, it's a full-time thing.
It is.
It's you can't be.
Over 40 hours a week.
Oh, definitely. Oh, definitely. Trying to be a full-time college student and a full-time campaign manager, what? Never. Jesus. Oh, my goodness. I needed the Lord. I made it through me, Jesus, and ChatGPT. That's what took me through this final semester between full-time college, getting this internship together, and a campaign manager.
And for anyone from the faculty at HC, he's talking about ChatGPT for the campaign management.
Yeah.
Yes.
Campaign manager for what did they think I was talking about?
Exactly.
Just listen. Reading is fundamental. Remember that.
Exactly.
And so you can't be doing this on one side and then trying to be a campaign manager in the morning for an hour, having a little hour. No, me and AJ talked maybe 5 times a day. Our phone calls, like we're on it. You got to look at the numbers. You got to break it down. You got to look at the metrics. Boom, boom. Well, I don't have the money or time to do it. You probably shouldn't run. If you don't have the time to being a candidate is a full-time job. Being a candidate is a full-time job. You should have as many events and speaking as you have lined up back to back to back to back to back.
Every event is guaranteed to at least bring one new person to the campaign.
There it is. You know who did a good job at that? She ran for Sugarland mayor. Carol. What is her last name? It's Carol McHutchinson, something like that.
Yeah.
She was at every event. Every event. I knew someone that was on her campaign. She was at every event. And as though Republicans got dog walked in this election. You know where Carol is? She's in a runoff. Why? Because it was a full-time job for her. Every time I go on Facebook, Carol was buying Instagram ads. I said, what is she? I don't even live in Sugarland, and she was on my Instagram feed, so I know if you live in Sugarland, she was on yours. You can't even sit here and lie to me. That's a campaign. Take notes. Godspeed to her in the runoff. Godspeed, because she put in the time, the effort, and the diligence in this campaign.
Yeah. And like, it's crazy. I've seen like more energy out of her than people that are 20, 30
years
old.
Younger, and you're not a candidate. I don't know who convinced you to do this, but no, don't do it again.
Trump's victory has had a lot of consequence for the Republican Party.
Oh, yeah.
It's the complacency, really. It's the thing. And I'm hoping, like, I'm not going to lie to you, this is not going to change anything. Local elections rarely have impact beyond their communities, let alone on, state, let alone federal policy for the party.
But a lot of the elections that happened here were like school board and city, like these are the big, not the like precinct committee. These were the ones that, okay, wait a minute. Because we see how political school boards are getting. It was elections like that it's like you have to win this.
But no one's talking about them. Beyond you, me, and the show, no one else.
No one talks about them. But that's because the candidates that are running for them treat it as such. They don't treat it like they're running for president, when in reality, that's what you're doing. They treat it, it's just school board.
Yeah.
It's a small little thing.
No one votes in these. If I just get a small amount of people.
If I can just get 50 people to vote for me. No. You want to...
It's like you said it. They're getting... The thing is, if these things are getting political, people are going to start caring about them more. And now those old estimates of 50 people to win is out the window.
But at the same time, still remembering it's nonpartisan. You can be political and nonpartisan. I don't want the Republican Party of Texas to endorse me for this nonpartisan school board election. I don't want that. Because now it's, you're dipping. I want the Democrat parents to vote for me too. I want to be that moderate, listen, I'm here for the children. If I'm running a school board election, right? And you look at it and you go, there was a Democrat, congressperson on the committee, and she said millions of kids were impacted by Flint, Michigan's water. And RFK looked at her and said, well, that's not possible. Flint only has a population of 100,000. As a campaign, that's exactly, I want 1 million votes in a city that only has 100,000. That was my goal. When AJ King was like, yeah, well, we only need about 50, I said, I want more.
Have that margin.
Yeah, I need, boo!
You don't want to barely win. That's how at best you got to run off.
Yes. I want to make you never, when you look at the results, you should close the phone immediately and never run for an election again. after I've ran a campaign. You should just step away, disappear into the darkness. And that's probably what's going to happen. This guy is probably going to just step away into the darkness because, I mean, you got wiped by a guy who was on a write-in campaign. And you know what's funny? I make a great campaign manager, not to toot my own horn, but you'd be surprised. A lot of people out here don't have campaign managers. Or if they do, it's, just a friend who's volunteering who doesn't really know much about politics or, thinks they know more about politics and has horrible messaging. And I'm like, the only person that's going to vote for what you're saying is you. This is not resonating with the average voter. Yeah, a lot of people, I just need the Democrat Republican vote. No, you have to resonate with the average voter. We're 4 minutes over.
Yeah. Great way to come back for the summer, isn't it?
Great way to come back. It makes up for last week.
There we go.
Makes up for last week. Brian, anything?
Yeah, no, I mean, you really hit home with a lot of that. I mean, the Republican Party has a lot of changes to do, both local, federally, and state-wise. Mm-hmm. I mean, I wish we could have gone into it on the show, but I mean, the whole Palestine-Israel issue that's been happening in St. Marcos with Greg Abbott has been a very interesting thing to look over.
I wanted to get into the Harvard thing with Trump as well, the free speech.
Well, I would say as long as nothing happens, we will talk about it next week. But unfortunately, it looks like the second we got off of school, that's when everything starts happening.
Oh, yeah. Hey, let them keep it going. I like this. Let them keep it going. I'm hot. I'm ready. I even yelled a little bit because I got the monitor things in front of me and they were I was like, wait a minute.
Uh-oh.
Windshield wipers up here, man. But yeah, the messaging of the Republican Party has to change, folks. So the Patriots Den Summer Edition, it's Patriots Den Unleashed.
That's where we're going?
Nothing, a Patriots Den Unleashed. Can we get that? I'm going to talk to the guy. We're going to Patriots Den and then in the corner somewhere, Unleashed.
A little asterisk, yeah, unleashed.
Because now I don't have to worry about getting back to school on time. Yeah, we're 5 minutes over. I don't have anything to do. Just talk to y'all. How are y'all? Good to see you. I'm not going to keep y'all that long, though. Brian, any last words before we get up out of here?
No, that's a great way to do a first episode, I'll tell you what.
Oh, absolutely. Patriots Den Summer Edition. Patriots Den Unleashed, folks. We're unleashed. No holds barred. The gloves are off. The gloves are off because I can get as angry as I want to knowing that I'm going straight home after this. I don't have to go to a college class and sit through a lecture from a professor. So therefore, y'all are getting the best of me right now.
Only the best.
Only the best.
For you, Patriots, right there. Talking about y'all. Y'all make this possible.
We love y'all. Y'all are great. We have such a great support system. Thank you all so much for tuning into the Patriots Den Unleashed Summer Edition. Beautiful.
Episode 1.
Streaming on Facebook and YouTube by Radiodabang. Radiodabang, a Mike-Con production. What does that say? Mike-Con presentation. I had to read it. Mike-Con. There's no teleprompter, folks. I was just reading the thing that's right here.
The things that you can see, we can see.
Exactly. I don't have a teleprompter. This is all off the top of the head. Because I do this for real. I in my sleep, I go over a prompt. And then I come here and it flows great.
If this was on teleprompter, I'd fire that guy, frankly.
That's quite frankly, you're horrible. You gave me the wrong math. That makes me concerned. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. We will see you all next week, same place, same time. So if you want to, just don't even leave your seat. Just stay there until next week and hit play. It'll be on. We love you. Thank you guys.